of 75, yeah, 5. So it's a great that now big it is a social and political rights within the constitutional framework. Now, from last 75 years, that all the social rights movement have gained a lot of success, and lot of debates and discussions are going on. And the issue of social rights is a very much center of the debate today. But the still that economic rights and stake of underprivileged section of the society are still far away. So it is a really very good time that we have a Professor K.S. Chalam, who is economist, and same time he's a very much he have expertise on social and economic issue of the vulnerable sections. So I welcome him, and also Amit ji. I had a number of time discussion earlier, long back, and now probably he could put more light on the issue that which is going to be discussed today. So I welcome you all, Amit ji and Professor Chalam, and all the participants here. So now without taking much time, I hand over to Amit ji to take forward the discussion. Thank you. Jai Bhim.
Thank you, Koteji. Thank you very much. Can I request the participants to put their go on mute? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Lakshmaya ji, for organizing this lecture series. It's fifth lecture in the series, and I've had the privilege of listening to some of them. They are very timely and informative, and very much required and the frequency is very good. And thank you, Professor Chalam. You need no introduction. Everyone knows who you are and your work and your long legacy of academic activism and administrative activism. But it is my duty, formal duty, to introduce you, which I shall. Um, and let me do that, and then I'll come to the proceedings as to how we'll progress with today's lecture. Though Professor Chalam doesn't need an introduction, but I will like to remind people of his work. It's difficult to summarize everything in a short period of time, but just mentioning some things from his illustrious career, we will get a sense of the contribution of Professor Chalam. He's a very well known political economist and an educationist, and a former member of the Union Public Service Commission at New Delhi. This was during 2005 to 2011. He has been also the Vice Chancellor of the Dravidian University in Andhra Pradesh and had taught in the Department of Economics, Andhra Pradesh, between 1976 and 2005. He is known as the founder of Academic Staff College scheme in the country. He is credited with starting that, as he was the first director under which this scheme was launched. He has also worked as the first director of Swami Ramananda Tirtha Rural University, that is located in Bhudan, Pochampalli in Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Chalam was also on the planning board of Madhya Pradesh government during 2002 and 4. He was on the planning, and he took part in the drafting of the Bhopal Declaration, which we all know happened under the leadership of Digvijay Singh, and it was one of the first documents which talked about the economic rights of Dalits. He's also the recipient of the UGC Young Social Scientist Award in Economics in 1984. He has published so far 28 books in English, including 10 books on education, political economy of caste, human development, on Dr. Ambedkar, and also 16 books in Telugu language and 150 research paper. Some of the books which Dr. Chalam has published include Caste-Based Reservation and Human Development in India, 2007 Sage publication. Economic Reform and Social Exclusion, 2011 Sage publication. edited book titled Governance in South Asia, State of Civil Services 2014, Sage publication. In addition, he has traveled widely in more than 15 to 17 countries, participated in various conferences and seminars, chaired many sessions in international conferences. And that's a very brief description. I could go into the detail, but I will refrain from that. And Dr. Chalan was also associated with the Human Rights Commission in New Delhi as a special rapporteur and currently holds the chair of the Institute of Economic and Social Justice. So, a brief introduction to Professor Chalam's work, which is continuing as we talk. Uh, Over to you, Professor Chalam. We would like to ask you a lot of questions and discussions.
Yeah.
So, I would
No
suggest,
better.
but you're free to take as much time as you like, anywhere between 35 to 40 minutes, and then the
Yeah.
rest will just open for discussion. So, once again, a warm welcome, Professor Chalam, and over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. It's really very happy to see you here. Mr. Lakshmaya called me the other day and asked me to be here today. And therefore, I can't say no to Lakshmaya because we are friends for decades. And Arun Kote and other friends, Korvi and other friends are here. I'm a little busy here, you know. I'm the founder editor of South India Journal of Social Sciences. And that is care listed. We have to shortlist 30 articles out of 500. It's a very difficult thing. My son is an environmental scientist helping me. But anyway, this topic, Lakshmi asked me any issue that you can take up. I said, I thought that let us discuss about the socio-economic justice, because Baba Sahib really combined in himself as an economist and as a constitution maker and a sociologist, everything. So it is in that context I have chosen this topic. Friends, the concept of justice is alien to India. We don't know in any part of India or any of the Dharma Shastras or even Puranas, the issue of justice is ever discussed. So the concept of justice itself is alien to India. It is an alien and it's also maybe a Western concept. Then what is justice? Is it a sense of behavior, or is it innate quality acquired, or something that is given by the society to the groups? In fact, justice is practiced by monkeys. There is an interesting experiment made by a scholar that when two monkeys
सर
are
कमल
given
जी सॉरी सर कमल जी आप म्यूट करना कमल जी कमल बिहार कमल जी प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए
Thank you.
राइट
Please continue, sir.
when two monkeys are given two different commodities, they refuse to accept. It means the monkeys have a behavior of justice. But unfortunately, the monkeys of this country, because they say that they have a long, millions of years of dharma. Millions of years of dharma. We know human history started 2 lakh years ago. But they say that they have started dharma billions of years ago. It has started. I don't want to say the whole thing because it is controversial. But therefore, we expected the monkeys, at that time there must be monkeys, like the monkeys that we see today, have this kind of a behavior of treating everyone equal. But anyway, given this brief introduction to the concept, justice is fairness. Last century has seen one of the greatest contributions by John Rawls. Students of political science knows about it. A theory of justice. It's considered as one of the greatest contributions of the last century. But political scientists may or may not know the background of that. The theory of justice was written by John Rawls due to the intellectual churning that was taking place in the United States of America. It was Lyndon Johnson in 1964 passed the Civil Rights Act after the African Americans fought for justice. After 2-3 years, the government Department of Education has appointed a committee under the chairmanship of Coleman to give a report whether justice is being done to the blacks. The Coleman report brought out very, very startling facts that 80% of the blacks in United States of America were discriminated. And we have the whole story of busing and all that. Why I'm saying this is, then there was an interesting report by Jenks on inequality. These two reports have created intellectual atmosphere in the United States of America that everybody was discussing about equality, justice, and so on. Interestingly, during that period, India was not at all interested. No intellectual has participated in the debate. There was also there were a lot of issues in India relating to the discrimination, caste atrocities, and all that. No intellectual has ever participated in it. This is what I mentioned in my little popular book, Caste-Based Reservation Human Development. So I'm bringing this to your notice that before understanding what is justice, we need to know what is the meaning of justice as developed by the Western society. And we all know, students of political science and some social scientists know that Aristotle has said that equal should be treated equally, and unequal should be treated unequal. This is the kind of justice that they were talking about. He was talking that justice is virtuous, virtue is justice, and justice is essential for common good of the whole society. This is what he was talking in terms of ethics. In fact, it is by taking Aristotle into consideration, Marx has attacked him by saying that you're talking something different. Justice is not ethical. It's over a period of time we will get into the questions of justice. And his idea of justice is different. Marx has said that justice is done to people when alienation is totally eliminated. When the human being who is eliminated comes back to his species being, that is a philosophical, in the economic and philosophical manuscripts, Marx has said about this. Man is alienated from species being, and he will be justified only when he comes back to this. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm only introducing the issue of justice because Indians do not know what is justice. Indians talk only about dharma. They don't know about the justice, treating equality of opportunity and all that. Those questions have arisen, and Baba Saheb Ambedkar has elaborated those questions. And then what is justice according to John Rawls? John Rawls has elaborated, explained the previous utilitarian concept of equality and the greatest benefit to the largest number and all kinds of things, but that has not given sufficient critical foundation to treat everyone as the same. Because even the greatest number of the greatest, largest benefit, there will be few who may not get the opportunity. Therefore, just
Rajiv
therefore,
Ji, can you please mute
Please
yourself?
కట్టిండ్రా
Rajiv Kumar ji, can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
So John Rawls has indicated that in a veil of ignorance, where we treat everyone is the same, we do not know the identities of individual, it is possible to implement inequalities. It is possible to distribute resources, primary goods, freedoms, etc., provided the the greatest number of benefits are given to the least disadvantaged. See, very interesting. We support inequalities. It's possible to implement inequalities provided the largest number of benefits are given to the least disadvantaged. Perhaps it is on the basis of this, Amartya Sen has done a very interesting study, inequality re-examined and supported the reservations in our country. And then he has also said, I'm just only mentioning only about the concept of justice, and then I'll come back to the whole issue of economic and social justice, how it is implemented in India. Then the other aspect of justice as fairness, according to John Rawls, is that
Ravi ji, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Yes, sir, please.
Yes. When offices and positions of power are open on the basis of equality of opportunity. This is fairness. This is fairness. Justice means fairness. I wanted to repeat it again because there's some disturbance. In the USA, because justice is not an issue in Indian society for the last so many years, for thousands of years, because it is only dharma that has prevailed. But I'm now trying to find out the anadi dharma and sanatana dharma. They are two different things. The anadi dharma and sanatana dharma parallels. I'm going to write on that. In Telugu, I have already written something, and I'm going to elaborate. But in the anadi dharma of the original inhabited, what we call the Mulavasis, have a different kind of justice. They have their own mechanisms of providing equality of opportunity and sharing and miseries and happiness, etc. That is different. But in the mainstream society, what we call the Sanatana Dharma, there is no question of justice at all. It is all just based on the merit. That merit comes through the birth of a person. So we have contradictory views in this country. We have been fighting. This is what Bahasab has also said about this. But anyway, this concept of justice as fairness started in the United States of America in the 70s because of the implementation of the Civil Rights Act and its evaluation by Coleman, and there was a whole debate in the United States of America. In fact, one of the scholars who was also a professor of philosophy at Harvard, Nozick, has said that no, inequalities are to be supported. Because I have acquired my own property. Somebody has transferred that property to me. It is my own. Why should I share it with somebody else? And in his Anarchy, I don't know, I read this book so long back, 30 years ago. Nozick. And based on that, he indicated that the state has no role to play in the distribution, and there should be a minimalist state. Later, James Buchanan, economists know, James Buchanan and others started. And now we have a government here in India that is based on the principles that developed by Nozick and Buchanan and all that. There will be a minimum state, minimalist state in India. Cannot interfere in the activities. But quite contrary to this, after John Rawls elaborated the thesis on justice and saying that justice is possible provided the inequalities in the personal, in the issue of inequalities, the least disadvantaged provided the opportunities, more opportunities, and the positions of power and opportunities are given through the equality of opportunity principle. Later, Amartya Sen, one of our greatest scholars, who considered that Babasaheb Ambedkar was his father of economics. His father of economics is Babasaheb Ambedkar. He has also written a book, The Idea of Justice. I'm bringing to your notice that there are scholarly discussion about the question of justice. Though the concept of justice is alien to us, we have used that justice. I will come to that when we come to the Constitution. The idea of justice of Amartya Sen is quite different. Amartya Sen has continued the argument of John Rawls as fairness, but he said that it is better to see that how unfairness is minimized. Unfairness is minimized. And he brought in very interestingly 3 examples. I don't want to go into the details, but anyway, he said that in India, we have a system of Niti and Nyaya. Niti is about the behavioral justification. Niti. Nyaya is how that Niti is implemented and what is the outcome of that Nyaya, the principles of Nyaya. So, through this, what he wanted to say is that in India, or generally in the idea of justice, there are different ways of looking at justice. He gives an example of 3 people, 3 girls, one having a flute and one owns it, one prepares it, one knows how to make the flute. And all of them wanted to have that flute. How do you distribute this? Therefore, there are different ways of looking at justice. This is what Amartya Sen has ultimately said. So, why I am saying this is that unless we know the nuances of the question of justice in a philosophical mode, we will not be able to understand the idea of justice or the question of justice in our Constitution. Now, having said this, how are you going to evaluate or assess how economic and social justice in our country are implemented? What are the instruments of justice and what are the institutions of justice? The institutions of justice includes rules, regulations, even constitution, and the acts, the courts. Whereas the institutions of justice, they are autonomous. People say they are autonomous. I consider they are not autonomous. State, market, civil society, these are institutions. In fact, recently, Asimoglu was given a Nobel for his thesis on democracy. But that is a different issue. We are not going to that. That is also institutional economists are also nowadays were very interested. And in fact, Marxist scholars are now discussing about the idea of justice, not in terms of Amartya Sen, the question of justice. They are also examining justice, how Marx in his earlier writings looked at the whole issue of justice. But as far as we are concerned here, we are concerned only about the Indian Constitution. I am giving only the background of the question of justice. These questions have been raised and discussed outside the parliament. And when the Constitution was made, the Constituent Assembly was created, and Babasaheb Ambedkar entered the Constituent Assembly
Hello,
in December.
Rameshji, can you mute yourself?
And Jawaharlal Nehru has introduced the objective resolution of
Hello.
the Constitution. And we know at the same time, the Muslim League and the friend of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Jogendranath Mandal, they got separated. And interestingly, Jogendranath Mandal was elected to the as president of the Constituent Assembly to elect Jinnah. But Jogendranath Mandal couldn't continue for long, and the Constitution was not made totally. And ultimately, it came in 1956, the Pakistan Constitution. And by that time, Jogendranath Mandal came to Calcutta, and the Constitution was never accepted. There are 3 constitutions in Pakistan now. The third one, I don't know whether it is still valid or not. But as far as India is concerned, I have to say that we were lucky that we had 2 important Fabians. The constitution making was under the hands of Jawaharlal Nehru and Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Both were Fabians, Fabian socialists. In fact, somewhere I think Professor Thorat has published that article where I have mentioned the question of G.B. Shah has, which Baba Sahib Ambedkar reiterated in 1940, educate, organize and agitate. That is the Independent Labour Party slogan, the Fabian Socialist slogan. That is still available on their website. You can see that. That's not very important here. What is important is that when Baba Sahib Ambedkar entered the Constituent Assembly, suddenly Rajendra Prasad on 17th December asked him to speak. It was he said that I am asked to speak without any preparation, but I'm happy, and he gave wonderful speech on that day. And the first question that he has raised is very interesting. He said that how is it possible to achieve equality, justice, economic and political, without bringing socialism into the preamble? People don't understand this. Baba Sahib, it is available black and white in the Constituent Assembly proceedings and the proceedings published by Vasant Mohan and others. Baba Sahib Ambedkar has said, and he also said in a different tone, I expected that Jawaharlal Nehru, being socialist, would bring socialism into the preamble, into the objective resolution. But later, it has happened. So what I am trying to say is, in the Constituent Assembly, there was a lot of debate and discussion about the issue of justice. Justice is different from equality. Justice is fairness. Equality is treatment. That is different. Equality can be the status. Equality can be in terms of treatment. Equality in terms of transactions. That is different. But justice is a quality. It is fairness. And that kind of a justice is to be found in our Constitution. The Constitution is made. It is available. 106 times the Constitution is amended. Interestingly, I've seen somewhere, in the United States of America, it has only 7 articles. 11,000 requests for amendment came, but they didn't accept 11,000. 27. But in India, every time that a case is made for amendment, they make it 106 times, and mostly the amendments are made to social issues, particularly Article 15, 16. Article 15, 16. And the Indian Constitution is made, and Baba Sahib Ambedkar, as you all aware, from 1926 he entered the Bombay Council. Till his death, he has been a legislator with the short breaks here and there. Interestingly, again, when the first amendment to the Constitution was made in 1951, Baba Sahib Ambedkar was the law minister. As law minister, he introduced the bill of amendments, and he supported Jawaharlal Nehru because Nehru was in trouble because of two reasons. One, the issue relating to the caste-based reservations was struck down by the Supreme Court by Champak Dorai Rajan case. We don't know who is this Champak Dorai Rajan. Even now, we don't know who is this Champak Dorai Rajan. By using the Article 29(2), Baba Sahib Ambedkar said clearly, why this Article 29(2) is used? Because it is only equality opportunity in admissions, education admissions. Champak Dorai Rajan has gone to the court. At that time, there is no caste on the Justice Party. In Madras Presidency, they were implementing. They have gone to the court, and there was a trouble, and Periyar Ramaswamy, Baba Sahib, everybody was there, and therefore Baba Sahib Ambedkar in fact, the Constituent Assembly, people who don't know, the Constitution 1946, it was extended till 1952. The elections were made. The Constituent Assembly tenure was almost 6 years. In other words, technically, whatever that they have made up to 1952 in the Assembly, in the Parliament, was Constituent Assembly. They were the members of the Constituent Assembly who were sitting as members of the Parliament. Therefore, technically, whatever that they have made is valid and it is part of the Constituent Assembly. But anyway, Baba Sahib Ambedkar in 1951 introduced the different issues related particularly about the reservation. In order to outwit it is here exactly, wonderful. It is here, Baba Sahib Ambedkar said very interestingly that I am obliged to accept the judgment, but I am not obliged to respect the judgment of the Supreme Court. When somebody has brought to the notice of the speaker that Ambedkar is speaking something different that is not acceptable, and he immediately said, yes, this is my prerogative as a lawyer. I really accept whatever that the Supreme Court has said, but I will definitely respect the judgment. This is applicable even today also. And in that context only, he has introduced Article 15(4), 16(4) Ambedkar, and then Nehru was in trouble because he has introduced the Jamindari abolition. Jamindari abolition was in trouble because why Jamindari abolition? It is because of our friend Lakshmaya knows. It is because the Telangana struggle. The struggle throughout the country. There was struggle. In Kerala, there was Mappila struggle. In Bengal, there was a problem. These are all, interestingly, our scholars should do this. These are struggles started by the Dalits, some of the landless laborers. The landless never examined. Who are they? That's why everything gone into the concept of landless laborers or comrades or communists. But most of the things have come from there. But anyway, nearby we have China, Soviet Union. They were all about to enter. So under those circumstances, Jawaharlal Nehru introduced land reforms in India. The land reforms were struck down. Therefore, on the basis of the Article 31. Article 31 and Article 19F gives right to property. This is exactly here. We need to think it over, how we can fight for our right to property. Baba Sahib Ambedkar introduced and defended and said that he wanted that land should be nationalized. He said it in the Constitution, in the Parliament while introducing the amendment bill. But he has also said, therefore, friends, if somebody says that Baba Sahib has not done this and that, let them read states and minorities. Let them read states and minorities. And under the states and minorities, and particularly in Article Clause 4, he said that when the individual rights are invaded, what is the recourse to the common man? Where in Clause 4, Baba Sahib Ambedkar has clearly in the states and minorities, if you don't get anything in the written constitution that is in operation today, And people say and criticize that Ambedkar could not do it. He could not do it. In fact, I consider the Indian constitution that we have today is only compromise. It is not consensus. It has a long history. Indian constitution has also a long history. Long history. Baba Ambedkar was continuously associated with it. 1919, Franchise Committee, 1920 Simon Commission, 1930, 32, Roundtable Conference, and ultimately the agreement reached between Gandhi and Baba Ambedkar. I consider the constitution of 1947, 1949 has a prelude, 1932 Pune Pact. I consider that we all should consider that the agreement reached, which is a social contract. The constitution is a social contract between the Savarnas and the Avarnas, signed by two different groups. The Savarnas supported, led by Mahatma Gandhi, and the Avarnas, led by Baba Ambedkar, was forced to sign the Pune Pact, and it was signed. And 1932 Pact is a part of the 1935 India Act. 1935 India Act, somebody people say that B.N. Rao. B.N. Rao is a civil servant. You know, I was in this service commission. Civil servants are really great people. Civil servant, one of the earliest civil servant. He is related to recently, I think, Shyam Benegal passed away. He is related to Shyam Benegal Narasimha Rao. See, B.N. Rao, people say, you just go to the social media, you will find that many people say that it was written by B.N. Rao. B.N. Rao was an advisor, and already the India Act, 1930 India Act is there. He has picked up those acts by Lord Dundas, Secretary of State. Lord Dundas, Secretary of State, has done the 1935 Act, and some of the articles, 240, 200 articles picked up. That is all related to how the parliament should function, how the how the different administrative units are to function. These are the things that are there. They have picked up, and he has conducted a study and has written an outline of the Indian Constitution, 19 pages. No doubt he is a good person. But the whole thing is done, Ambedkar is done by the S.N. Mukherjee. The draftsman is called as the draftsman. S.N. Mukherjee is joint secretary. Who has done it? And everyone knows, those who are familiar with the government know that the donkey's work is generally done by the joint secretaries. It is Mukherjee who has done it. And B.N. Rao has given this and has gone and has conducted a study, and some thousand issues have come and all that. Ultimately, Baba Ambedkar, there are three drafts. Why I am saying this is because if you go to the social media, you will always find that the upper caste and the Savarnas always criticize. It's not the contribution of Baba Sahib, that is contribution of the Baba Ambedkar was the principal of one of the greatest colleges of Asia. Government Law College, Bombay. That's the only college. At that time, he was the principal, and then resigned in 1938. And he taught in British English Constitution, the traditions of English Constitution and all that. He was associated with 1999, 1929. All through, he was associated with the formation of the Indian Constitution. Therefore, Indian Constitution that we got in 1926 has a long history. And his fight. Not only Baba Ambedkar, several others, M.C. Raja, Lal Bahadur Srinivasan, and all these people were there. They have contributed, and the Constitution is available. I consider this is a document, not a consensus document, a compromise document between two parties. It is a social contract and Savarnas. We have this document today, but is it really helping the Dalits? That's the question now. The question is whether economic justice is done to the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes, minorities. And interestingly, we are happy that one more added to these reserved communities, economically weaker sections, UWS. Therefore, in our country, there is no one who is outside the reservation side. I mean, in other words, consciously, unconsciously, they are bringing the idea of class, economic class. Good. We will see what will happen after some time. But anyway, Now, I will come to the question of whether economic justice is done to the scheduled caste through the constitution, through its instruments and through its institutions, whether economic justice is done to, because as student of economics give primacy to economic justice, and social justice is a part of economic justice. And this problem in economic justice is that in our country, neither constitution nor the traditions have ever recognized the right to property of the scheduled caste, the Dalit. Because Dalits are not only Varnabahyas, I consider they are also Ardhabahyas. They are outside the economic process. And in my forthcoming book, I don't know when will it come, there is about reimagining classes. I said that the problem of class is emerging in some states, because India has 15 regions, and in 15 agroclimatic zones. In the east region, different kinds of things are happening, but that is a different story altogether. The economic justice starts with the right to property. And it is here again, right to property, Article 31. And that was also in during Janata rule, 1978. That article is removed, and it is removed from the fundamental rights, and it is now made as a constitutional right. Why I am interested in this? Whether in the constitution, that is now available, whether the Dalits are given any right to own property. Yes. In the amendment 38, when the Scheduled Caste Commission is divided, Scheduled Caste Tribes are divided into two castes, tribes, and backward classes. In Article 338(5), there is an important provision given that the commission, because within the constitutional framework, I am talking only about the economic justice to be implemented through the constitutional framework, not outside the constitutional framework. Within the constitutional framework, it's possible, because in Article 338(5), the commission is given the opportunity and also in a directive that they should take care of the economic interest, plan for the economic development. Because scheduled castes were never given the opportunity to own property. If they own properties, even the kind of properties that the land properties that were given during the time of the British, Panchama lands. If you ask any Tamilians, they will tell you about the story of Panchami lands. And the kind of lands that are given, alienated, assigned lands. There was an article, November, EPW, I have written an article about how the lands of the scheduled castes in Andhra Pradesh, North Andhra Pradesh, is grabbed by the officers. So whatever lands that are given, whatever the lands that are alienated, are also taken back. And there is no protection. There is no protection in the constitution. How are you going to get the lands that are given to the scheduled caste are taken back in the name of, see, people not agree with that. The caste state. The caste state, a crony, casteism is not crony capitalism, it is caste crony capitalism. That is another story altogether. I don't want to get into that. Therefore, whatever that the constitution gives, we must take as of now. And when the lands given to the scheduled caste, we call in Andhra and Telangana deformed pattas, they are taken again. In Andhra Pradesh, after the armed struggle of Telangana and the different kind of Narasimha Rao and others have implemented alienation of lands to scheduled castes. I know that 52 lakh acres of land was distributed in Andhra Pradesh for SC, ST and OBCs. And scheduled castes used to own about 12 lakh acres. And I have given a report to somebody, some very important person in Telangana, that in Hyderabad city itself, Hyderabad and a metropolitan region, in the Hyderabad metropolitan region, survey caste lands were originally owned by the king. The British came and introduced the permanent settlements. The lands were held by this, our great historians, some of them, not all, have never written who owned the lands. It is the Agrahara, the Brahmin. In Kerala, most of the lands, Janmis, that is called the Brahmins. More than 60% of the lands were held by the Janmis in Kerala. And so most of the lands are held by the temple. In the temple and caste-based feudalism in India, that was responsible for the perpetuation of Varna system. And the constitution has nothing to do with that. Everything cannot come into the constitution. Therefore, there are many things that are available outside the constitution. We should fight and get those items included in the constitution. 106 is a living constitution. We can have a continuous dialogue with the constitution, always. Unlike other constitutions, Indian constitution is largest, 395 articles, longest one, and meticulously drafted by Ambedkar and others. Interestingly, all of them were liars. Most of the members of the Constituent Assembly were liars, including Babasaheb Ambedkar, Nehru, and but Bar class. So they have done meticulously and they systematically. It is living constitution. It keeps on updating itself and whatever demands that are there. The economic questions relating to the right to own property, right to lands, is not there. But that's why Babasaheb Ambedkar, while introducing the First Amendment, has said that land should be nationalized. Insurance should be a monopoly of the government. It is states and minorities. And interestingly, Babasaheb has introduced in the states and minorities again the Labour Party principle of industrial policy that was introduced in 1945 in England as industrial policy of India in Jawaharlal Nehru adopted what Babasaheb Ambedkar said in states and minorities. All the industries to be divided in 1948 industrial policy. Last 1948 industry talks about the private public sector where the government owns, and other sector key industries should be operated by the government and regulated by the government, and a few are given to the mixed day. 1948. This was the idea was given by Babasaheb Ambedkar and Nehru implemented as industrial policy. Why we are interested in this industrial policy? Industrial policy was responsible in bringing the public sector in our country. It is only through an industrial public sector that the scheduled caste enter into. We used to have about almost 1.95 lakh crores jobs in the public sector, all center, state, state enterprise, etc. After the introduction of the new economic policy 91 and then later Vajpayee and the present government, we have only 1 lakh 70 lakhs. 30 lakh jobs are gone. And there is no guarantee that private sector you will get the opportunities. Therefore, we should fight for our share in the private sector also through the constitutional means. We should, why not? Many articles are included. And the whole, in fact, the greatest damage done to the constitution is that Babasaheb Ambedkar has said it's union of states. India is a union of states, both in the through the Constituent Assembly and his states and minorities. He used the term union of states because he wanted a federal structure. In fact, he was asked to explain by the Gokhale Institute, freedom and federalism. Freedom and federalism, they had a problem in understanding 1935 Act. Therefore, they called Babasaheb Ambedkar to explain. And the same thing he has, as a student of economics and a student of public finance, he knows what is federal finance. He has entered several articles in the Constitution. And there, that is the basic structure of the Constitution. Federal structure is the basic structure of the constitution. But the constitution, what they have done it? For the sake of Kesavananda Bharati, Gorakhnath, for the sake of who are the Kesavananda Bharati? Kesavananda Bharati is a Petadipati. Gorakhnath was also a Jamindar. For the benefit of the Gorakhnath and Kesavananda Bharati, the Supreme Court, the whole Supreme Court, 13 members, sat and said the constitution has a basic structure. What is the basic structure? And some, it is reported, I don't know, media may be right or wrong. Someone has said the Article 16 is not fundamental right. The judge has said, Supreme Court judge. It is under the section, fundamental rights, Article 16 is there. He said 16 is to be interpreted. It is not fundamental. This is how the Supreme Court judges are saying. And in fact, the greatest danger comes from the kind of people who are in the apex, the quality, the integrity of the kind of judges who are getting into the higher. We have seen stories coming up. Therefore, what I consider, I will stop somewhere here. What I consider is that we should ask for a judicial ombudsman. The judicial ombudsman is there in Sweden, in New Jersey, and some small countries. The purpose of the ombudsman is to see that if an individual rights are infringed by the judiciary, and he should go to there should be a recourse to justice. Therefore, what I am trying to say here is that the constitution made by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ambedkar, and interpreted by great luminaries like Justice Iyer, Chennappa Reddy, and others, that kind of judges are not there. For everything, he has said in the first amendment itself. Do you think that the constitution is scrap paper? Every time somebody comes and you are amending it, you should not do it. But they are doing it because of the political pressure. Because I have said somewhere in one of my books, judiciary and the deprivation of justice. Judiciary and deprivation of justice. And if you look at the way in which the 1989 Act is interpreted, and again we have to go to the streets and then get it done. Why all this? Therefore, I consider that in order to get the economic justice and social justice, which is also part of social justice, we can talk about that because everyone of you are aware of it. Social justice can be explained in terms of the what is called the atrocities committed on them. Now, in 1989, there were 15,000 cases. In 2021 or 22, it is 53,000 cases. What is this? This is justice. In fact, I have done a study some 30 years ago, composite index of deprivation, composite index of discrimination. On the basis of Punnaya Commission report, I have collected the data, how two-glass system is used and all some 4 indicators, and I have calculated a composite index of discrimination. And similarly, I have also done for economic index, composite, the caste-related development index, CDI, caste-related development index, by using the human development index, GEM, there is one gender empowerment measure that takes the whole human development and divides it into different parts, and then in order to bring justice to the women also, they have developed a new concept called gender empowerment measure. The same methodology I used and developed caste-related development index. The caste-related development index, the composite index of discrimination, these are 2 indicators that I have developed to assess how the constitution has been functioning in our country. And we all know that the great sacrifices made by Baba Ambedkar and the sacrifice doesn't mean Khairlanji is a sacrifice, Shundur is a sacrifice, Karamchand is a sacrifice. Every day, hundreds of people are killed. These sacrifices are to be. We must use these sacrifices to get our due from the national cake, because in the recent budget, you have seen Lakshmaya and others have fought for the special component plan. You have seen in the recent budget 13,500 crores are given for SC welfare out of a budget of 48 lakhs. Even 1% is given, we will get 48,000 crores. It's just 0.26%. Are we not eligible, justified in asking for our proportionate share both in the economic wealth of the country and also in the social well-being? Friends, this is what I am not prepared for this lecture. Thank you very much, Mr. Lakshmaya, my friend Amit, Thorat, and others, Kote and others. What we have lots of things to discuss, starting from the concept of justice, which is alien, but Baba Sahib brought, and there is a whole story. And the constitution has several issues. This is what I will answer one or two questions the members raised. Thank you. Shiva?
Thank you, Professor Chalam. Thank you for that very, how should I say, expansive talk where you touched upon almost everything. But just to highlight a few things, I think what I really liked about your talk was to start with the idea of justice, which we forget that is alien to this, or it almost alien to our culture and civilization, and it had to be forcefully brought in by the likes of Dr. Ambedkar through his enormous efforts. And as you rightly said, I mean, he said that he was the first one who would burn the constitution because as his draft of the constitution in minority and states, that never really got translated into the final constitution. And he was extremely sad and disappointed with the final version. And even that we eulogize and respect the constitution as being a pillar of equality, fraternity, etc., and justice. But the very idea that you spoke about, that the idea of justice, which had to come back from the West into India post colonialism and through law, through English law and Roman law, etc. We may have had Buddhist traditions of justice and debate, etc., but all that was lost. So I really like the fact that you talked about that and brought in John Rawls, who's one of the greatest propounder of the idea and theory of justice, and building up from there. Can I request the participants to please mute their phones and laptops? Thank you. And I think one thing another thing as an economist that I liked what you mentioned is the imperative, the essentiality of the idea of economic justice.
Yeah.
Society may not change, society may take a while to change. Mindsets and social psychologies and individual group identities and group competitions may continue. And we may not have social justice being achieved in the manner and as fast as we want in the country. But that does not mean that the minorities, the groups which have been historically excluded and discriminated for thousands of years, should be denied economic equality and economic fairness and justice. And that definitely, Dr. Ambedkar wanted to nationalize land ownership and redistribution of land, which succeeded very partially. As you rightly said, the land was given and taken away again. There have been so many social movements all over the country, South, Maharashtra, etc., to get lands to the Dalits and other groups. And it is despite the fact that there was a move, there was a national move to nationalize land or redistribute it, and despite that, Dalit groups had to continue to fight for land. And I think that is one question which I will ask, or maybe we can discuss regarding how do we think about achieving economic parity in the future either through constitution or putting pressure on the politicians, lawmakers I mean, I know you don't like amending the constitution, nobody does, but to bring or to reinterpret certain clauses of justice in economic justice, and what are your ideas about that? So thank you again, once again. Mr. Lakshmiya, I'm not aware. How do we do the question answers? Is it do we allow people to ask the questions, or we ask?
Yes. Please ask the audience
Okay.
participants to ask questions, and you can moderate.
So if you raise your hands, if you just click on the raise hand, I will. Please keep your questions to the minimum. If you have any comments and suggestions,
Yeah.
please keep them in the chat box and we can read them. But please, I only request questions. Otherwise, I'll have to stop you. No comments and suggestions.
Already one question is there in the chat box.
Okay.
Or does the justice need equality with equity?
Sir, please answer.
Yes, Mr. I don't know, your name is not there. It says
Arun Kote.
Arun Kote, yes. Okay. I will try to answer. How do you make a distinction between equality and equity? In economics, we consider equity is share. Share is equity. Do you think that you wanted to get into that debate, or equality with equity? Equality is different from justice. Equality is a status, equality of status, equality of treatment, equality of outcome. Status and outcome. Basically, if we can say equality of. But justice is a treatment that is different. Justice is fairness. Whether you are fair in your transactions. And I have given the whole debate started by John Rawls, the theory of justice. That is a huge kind of a thing. They still scholars are working on that. There is a political philosophy. And as far as economists are concerned, we wanted that economic justice in terms of giving the right to property to Dalits, because the Dalits are for a long period of time, they are Ardhavahiyas, I call them. They are outside the question of owning property. They were not allowed to own property. In fact, we have 32% scheduled castes in Punjab, and you look at the land held by them, and out of the total land in our country, 80% of the land is held by the Savarnas, only 8% held by the scheduled caste, and 11% because of the what is called Forest Rights Act. The tribes have more than that. In fact, another serious problem is about displacement. If they are bringing some out of the constitutional, out of the judiciary purview, they have started bringing what is called land pooling. It started in Punjab, of course, and now it is done everywhere. To avoid the judicial scrutiny and avoid the constitutional questions, they bring with pressure, all kinds of pressure. They bring the farmers and say that we will give you some share in your land. And what kind of a share that they give? Even 213 Act, fair share. How much is they paid? As per the secretaries, Lok Sabha Secretariat itself, there is a note that 5 crores of people are displaced during the development project era. Who are they? All of them. All of them, invariably scheduled castes and tribes only, are displaced. They are not given land. If the land is given, it is again reappropriated through different means. The means is that, what is the means? The government says that we are developing some roads or some public project, infrastructure development, and naturally these lands are taken from the scheduled caste. The compensation given is for scheduled caste. 2013 Act said that they should get more, but are they giving? So the problem is they should not take away the lands of the scheduled castes. And the kind of land reform that we have in our country never helped the scheduled castes. Maybe even I am getting some papers from, we have started a new journal, Native India, from the tribal areas. We are getting articles written by tribal scholars that they didn't get the title set. They didn't get the title set in Mizoram. Whatever, I have a paper right now. In Mizoram, the titles are not given. They are available on paper. If you open the scheduled tribe or scheduled caste websites, caste, forget about it. Tribes, you will find that 90% of the scheduled tribes, forest rights sector, done. The titles are given. They are not given. Even if they are given, they are again taken away in the name of development. Therefore, we should, Baba Saheb Ambedkar has given all the details in the states and minorities. If you are taking them, give them shares. Give them shares in the industry. What is the problem? So now the demands, the economic demands of the scheduled caste should be different. That's what I wanted to submit. Yes, equality is important. Equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity is very important. That is the Article 15 and 16. Equality of opportunity. Again, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, while he was the law minister, 1951, again, Article 4, Clause 4 is added, and now it is another 5 is added, and keeps on adding. The Article 15 and 16 amended 8 times or 10 times. In 1 year, they made 2 times amendments. Why should they make it like that? If you can simply pass add something, this is out of the bounds of the judicial review. You have said this in the case of election commission proceedings. The same thing can be said here. Why not we do it? Why don't we ask for it? We should ask for it that the Supreme Court is out of bounds for any law relating to scheduled castes. That's it. Or recently, we have seen that the party, India started a very interesting move of impeachment. Impeachment. Yes, why not? There are 110 and 150 scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and the backward classes also include 200 MPs are there in the parliament. Why don't you start an impeachment? When issues of great concern of the lower castes are there in the parliament. Therefore, we have to politically put pressure in protecting the whatever that is Baba Saheb given to us through the constitution. This is my submission. We can add more, but we cannot leave. We cannot lose whatever that is given by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. That's my concern.
Thank you, Professor Chalam. Are there any other questions, direct questions? Anyone? Yes, your name on the screen, but you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sir, are you listening?
Yes, please.
Quick short question. Yeah,
Professor
thanks.
Saab, Namaskar. I am from Himachal Pradesh, Engineer M.R. Duroch.
Very
And
good.
my question is that justice means to be equal with haves. Since there is a big gap in social and economic justice network, despite of Atrocity Act and various schemes in the favor of scheduled caste development, and even after 75 years of independence, could we hope to narrow down this gap? If yes, then what should be the measures to be adopted? Thank you.
Shall I answer, Dr.
Please, please.
Yes, very good question. In fact, I really do not want to get into that, but Baba Saheb has given me the strength. In the parliament itself, he said, I am obliged to respect the judgment, but I am not obliged to give respect to the judges. Therefore, the same thing. whatever that is being done is again undone by the judiciary. I will give you in my political economy of caste in India, there is a separate chapter on number 8. In that chapter, that is about judiciary and deprivation of social justice. I have given one interesting judgment given by them that has related to our PCR Act. Then some Maharashtra case and they have done it. I have thoroughly studied. There are 286 sentences. The judgment consists of 286 sentences. All those sentences are precedents. We call precedents. In academics, we call references, citations. If we quote a wrong citation, plagiarism. But it is not plagiarism. And the contribution of that two judges, is only 6 sentences. See, this is the, I don't say, I don't have any words, but because they may find fault with me. This is how carelessness, particularly with relation to social related articles. Article 15, 16, 338, 341. You have a lot of issues are thrown open. Do you have that mandate as judges? No. Article 32, 3. Article 32, 3 clearly said Parliament is supreme, not the court. Because if you are you have any Google, go to the Google and find out from Mark Galanta, a great professor of law. Now he is in Chicago, from Wisconsin. He's come to Chicago. He has written 50 great families. 50 families in India are controlling both the benches and the bar. 150 benches, families. And the judiciary is not representative. In the US Supreme Court judges were appointments are ratified the Supreme Court. And I am also a constitution member of the Constitution. But our appointments were done by the parliamentary, subcommittee. But here, Swayambhus, they create themselves. The Supreme Court, the appointing their judges, their own people. Now there is a lot of debate is going on. Recently, I read that family members should not get into the judiciary and all that. What I would ask our friends is to implement Article 312. Article 312 is about the appointment of district judges. Appointment of the district judges. If the district judges are appointed, there will be reservations at the district level. In 15 years' time, they will get to High Court, and in another 25 years, they will come to the Supreme Court. Then you will find the Supreme Court is equally represented by all the social groups. The problem today is whatever that is there in the in the Constitution is undone by the Supreme Court because of prejudice, because of misunderstanding, because of incapacity to understand the provisions of the court, Constitution.
Thank you very much, sir.
There is a question from
Yes.
Jay, and the question I'll read. Sir, if nationalization of land bill is passed, then how will it be implemented? Will it affect individual house owners? How will it really ensure fair treatment of land settlements to the outcasts? If
this is a very serious question, Baba Saheb Ambedkar has addressed this question. That's why he wanted nationalization of land, because the real problem is that the Dalits were Ardhabhashyas. They were outside the treatment of what is property. Property is again defined by our father, Adam Smith. Adam Smith defined what is the ownership of a title. Ownership of a title is property. We don't have ownership titles. Even for homestead, the homes are, in fact, if you look at I have seen some dissertations also, Central University. In one state, they have given the data saying that so many scheduled castes are given land. So many scheduled castes are given land. But how much land is given is not mentioned. If you look at the numbers, you will find they are given only homestead. That is 1 cent of land for constructing a house. That is not the land. What we wanted only the land for cultivation. Land for cultivation. Once the land for cultivation is given, we have a problem in Andhra. I raised this in my article also. In Andhra, what happened? In our region, in North Andhra, in 3 districts, it is Jamindari system. Unlike the coastal region, that is a say Raitwari system, we have Jamindari system. In this, the lands are given through assignment. The scheduled caste own the land. Now, all this land of the scheduled caste, which were given 20, 30 years ago, prime lands, real estate. Therefore, what they have said is, no, this is under what is called some conditions are attached to this. When the deformed patta or assent land is given, there are certain conditions. You can sell, you cannot sell, you cannot own, etc. Therefore, we make it freehold. They have passed an act, make it freehold. And what land they have made it freehold? 27 lakh acres in Andhra Pradesh, as per Hindu report. Of which 10 lakhs belong to scheduled caste, maybe 3 lakhs or 30,000 acres in Vizianagaram district. What is the land near the city? Why they are giving? They are not out of sympathy for the scheduled caste. They have given advances to the scheduled caste, tempted them to sell their lands through freehold, and they will own it. But what I am saying is that P.S. Krishnan, we discussed about this. There is a scheme called Land Bank Scheme. The Land Bank Scheme is the land bank scheme of the government for industrialization development is different. Land Bank Scheme of the scheduled caste is different. I have raised the critical point. The Land Bank Scheme, the money should come from the SCP funds, Special Component funds, or from the Scheduled Caste Finance Corporation funds. If you buy the lands out of the SCP funds, then it will be the ownership will be in the joint owner, government and the scheduled caste. It cannot be given. Suppose if a scheduled caste person wants to sell his land out of requirement, then the government should buy that land and put it in the scheduled caste development land bank. Whenever there is a need, he is transferred to another scheduled caste. You cannot transfer scheduled caste land to another one because their history is different. Dalit's history is different. They have been denied this opportunity for thousands of years. Therefore, they should not be denied this opportunity again. In fact, there was a study one of my scholars done 30 years ago. If land, half an acre land is held by a scheduled caste, it gives you self-respect. It has helped to send their children to school. We have found that study in that study. Therefore, scheduled caste should never give their lands, sell their lands, and if they are sold, they should be given to another scheduled caste. So that is possible. Somebody is asking me about the ownership. Individual homeowners. Individual homeowners is not a big thing. Nowadays, the government, what is called Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana. There are many schemes. Use that schemes and give a title to that. But we are not asking about the house in Kerala. It's called Kudikuppam. There was a very interesting aspect in Kerala. The scheduled caste and communists fought for land. Ultimately, after years, after 2-3 were killed and they got the land. And with whom they fought? They fought with a church. Land was given to the church, that is some Christian, and ultimately they got it, some 200 acres. After 200 acres, 150 acres are given to some trust of the scheduled caste. Only 50 acres are given to 200, 300 families. Only they could use that land only for constructing their homes. Nothing is left for cultivation. Therefore, we need land. Land is very important, precious now. In the whole of India, only one thing is, that Amit knows it, he's an economist. One thing is happening today, only real estate. 50% of the GDP come from through the all different kinds of, either you are for roads or infrastructure, real estate, Hyderabad, Bombay cities, only in these things. Therefore, we should own land. The government should pass an act that every scheduled caste person should own at least 2 acres of land or 1 hectare. This demand we should put forth. It should be part of the constitution. Of course, it is very ambitious. I think my friend Lakshmaya Kurvi and even Rajsekhar Untu, it seems he is also there, the government officer. They should tell us how to do it.
Sir, now Kurvi is
సార్ గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్
Good evening, చెప్పండి.
సార్ ఏం లేదు ఈ ద ఎంటైర్ జస్టిస్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఇన్ ది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ సోషల్ ఎకనామిక్ అండ్ పొలిటికల్ సోషల్ ఎకనామిక్ కల్చరల్
Culture, yeah.
మనకి we have such a kind of interpretation is there which is actually it leads to the constitution obligation or the constitution if the effective implementation of the constitutional it is based on a rights based approach to achieve the citizenship is any conversion in citizenship from victimization, some different created inequalities, and there is different gender character, all the inequalities in the society. This leads to this citizenship is the any interpretation is the mandate of the constitution, sir.
Mandate of the constitution is very clear. It
That,
is in the
that
preamble. It
Ah,
is
sir,
in the
that's right.
preamble itself.
that
It is in the
satisfied.
preamble.
It's any connectivity it is a leading to the అంటే ఈ అసమానతలు ఉన్నటువంటి సమాజంలో సోషో ఎకనామిక్ కల్చరల్ అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ కలెక్టివ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ నాట్ ఇండివిజువల్ రైట్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ కలెక్టివ్ రైట్స్ టుగెదర్ టు అడ్రస్ ఆల్ దీస్ ఇష్యూ త్రూ ద ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ సెక్రెట్ సోషో ఎకనామిక్ కల్చరల్ రైట్స్ it leads to the conversion of a citizenship concept on the Fabulary. That is my justice. When I am thinking always justice, it is in a different. You are telling about it is a foreign to it is from alienate from our concept and but it is leading to it because of the concept of the very concept of the justice is very feminine to the Indian context. That is my
No, I said this. In
sir.
India, not
sir.
constitution. The justice is not alien to constitution.
Sir. India.
Concept of justice is alien to India, the Hindu
That's right.
India.
Sir. Okay.
And Baba Ambedkar, Nehru, and all these people, the modern scholars, have brought the idea of Western idea of justice to India through the constitution. And
is
in
right.
India,
Sir.
yes, group is it is in the group in the Article 15 and 16. There is no separate caste there. It's not Mala Madiga or the Chamar. It is scheduled caste. It is group.
Sir,
In
yes,
fact,
sir.
I have gone to the extent of saying that when you're talking of the group scheduled caste or backward classes, etc., it is a class.
Sir.
It is not caste.
Yes, sir.
It is a social class. Therefore, the constitution makers thought very seriously and debated and brought only scheduled caste. And the concept of scheduled caste has a long history that we are not discussing here. The individual rights are different.
Sir.
Individual rights are different and group rights are different. Scheduled castes are asking for a group rights.
Yes.
Not as
Yes.
a Chalam or Vinay or whatever. We are asking for the entire community, scheduled caste, because they are deprived of those rights for a long period of time. That is it.
Sir, my point
Thank
is
you.
very clear.
Thank you, Vinayji.
Please.
One second. My point is it is a socio-economic cultural rights and the direct under the in constitution is the part 3. As it is the responsibility of the state to which are not coming under the fundamental rights. Which is the state responsibility to deliver the mechanism or methodology to develop to interpret the rights as it is a rights perspective, socio-economic cultural rights who are deprived of the socio-economical cultural opportunities in the society. It is the responsibility of the state to deliver the mechanism to convert into a citizen of the society who are victimized with the caste, culture, and
Yes.
gender.
Yes.
All these.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, I got it.
Yes,
I got it.
thank you.
I got it. What you wanted to.
That is
He's
my
a
point,
liar.
sir.
Yeah,
He's a liar,
yeah.
I know. He's a liar. Your problem is you are talking only in terms of the fundamental rights are different from constitutional rights. There are several rights. The right to vote is a constitutional right. That is not a fundamental right. The right to property was originally a fundamental right. It is removed and made a constitutional right. Therefore, constitution the parliament is supreme, not the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is there to interpret the law and not to change law and to bring new law into account. Therefore, my submission is that the Constitution is a living document. It's not a dead document like other constitutions. Indian Constitution is a living document. We can interact. We can interact with the Constitution every time and see. For instance, there is a law commission. Law commission has examined very interestingly one issue of adverse possession. You are a lawyer. If somebody takes away my land individually, takes away my land and kept it under his possession. Most of the lands of the Dalits are adverse possession. They are under the control of somebody. If they are on the active position of the somebody, it is adverse position. And your law of limitation allows, if it is beyond 12 years, then it is the owner. This is wrong. In most of the cases, scheduled castes, lands are, in fact, they don't know where their lands are. They have, if they are given a patta or passbook, they know about it. They don't know the limitation, the position and whatever. Most of the lands are held by the Jamindar, the local Gundar, whatever it may be. They own the lands of the scheduled castes. And therefore, we have to protect it. In fact, the Law Commission has raised this issue. The adverse possession and the Supreme Court interpreting is bringing what is called the question of what is limitation, law of limitation is wrong. In the case, what we said, they may do whatever. I'm not interested. Generally, I'm interested in everything. But here we are talking only about the lower caste, scheduled caste tribes particularly. If the land is held by somebody in forceful possession, it is the duty of the court as an institution to see that it is given to him, not to the adverse possessed land grabber. There are many acts, but these acts are not actually implemented. See, the problem, as you know, you are activists, there are three stages. One is fighting for getting an act passed. After getting the act passed, getting the rules made. After rules are made, they have to be implemented. There are three stages. At each stage, the involvement of the NGOs and the activists and the civil society is very important. And as an activist, a civil society representative, Kurvi is the correct person to continue the legacy.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question.
Sir, a small evening, sir. Small intervention.
How are
With your
you?
permission.
How are you, sir?
Sir, today I could see the old anger, fervor, fury, and beauty of the talk, and the great depth with which you have spoken, sir. Really thankful. And you said that it was an unprepared lecture. And imagine if you had prepared, how would it be?
No,
Thank you so much, sir. And you look as young as ever.
Oh, all my hair, gray hair. And my Amit is also.
Very nice, sir. Thank you. Very good to see you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bonara?
Bonus, sir. Bonus, sir. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Amit, time?
It's 8:40. I think we'll stop with the questions now. Thank you. As the chair, I will take a prerogative to just make a last comment, if you permit me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Because this question of justice and economic justice you mentioned, and I've been doing some work on this and writing on it.
Yeah.
I think I should mention this here, is that while the Constitution, the preamble, and as Vinay ji was talking about, as citizens, we must get socio-cultural rights. When we talk about economic justice, I think what we must talk about now more and more, I think, and think about is the history of 3,000 years of exploitation, economic exploitation of the Shudras and Atishudras, the enrichment of the upper caste due to the forced labor of the Shudras and Atishudras, that they have never been compensated for that. So the idea of restitution is very difficult, but the idea of reparations, which is a very very common way in which societies abroad and all over the world have compensated tribes, ethnic minorities, racial minorities, and others. Mostly reparations have been given to victims of military. After World War II, the Jews were given reparations. The Japanese, who were imprisoned by the Americans on the fear of that they will rebel against America when all got $30,000 as reparations. And there are numerous cases. And I think we need to now think of why this
Yeah.
gap exists between the Dalits, the other people, and the so-called Savarnas, is that this 3,000 years of exploitation has not been compensated. And what we see as the privilege of the upper caste in terms of education, culture, social networks, wealth, and asset income generating assets is because they have exploited 60% of the population through their labor. And I think we must demand that reparations are due. This will include land redistribution. This will include wealth redistribution, and this will include
Yeah.
education, if not education through payments of direct wealth transferred into the accounts of families, so that the education of the children till graduation, at least, or 12th standard, is being funded by the state. And recently, I have written on this, which has come in the Oxford Review of Economic Policy. And there I look at land, education, wealth, and how reparation policy. I've give suggestions of reparation policy, and this has to be funded by the state. Uh, and people who have benefited from it have to pay a tax. So you can put a
Yeah.
reparations tax like a wealth tax to people who have traditionally come from these communities and reap the benefit. So I think this is economic justice is incomplete unless you recognize historic justice injustices. And if you evoke law, I mean, you talked about Rawls, and I'll go back and evoke Locke. And Locke also talked about the natural justice.
Yeah.
And if a harm has been committed against someone, and we agree that a harm was committed, a crime was committed, then that person must get justice. And justice means either you give punishment to the person who committed the crime, who no longer exists, but the descendants of the person who against whom the crime was committed needs a compensation, reparation, or even restitution, if that's possible. That is natural law, according to Locke, John Locke. And I think somewhere Rawls would agree with
Yes,
Locke.
yes, yes.
And so I think that's where I'll stop. But I think we,
But
as a collective, should.
recently, in an American Economic Review, the blacks have made a study about reparations. They have estimated how much land they lost. They have
Oh,
given the estimate. Yeah, that's a very good paper, and we should ask for it.
So this book by Professor William Darity and his partner Kirsten Mullen, it's called From Here to Equality, is an excellent book. They trace all the history of the African American slavery in America, and there are many calculations. There
Yes,
is a
yes, no, yes,
calculation of
yes. I'm happy
trillions
that you
of
are doing
dollars.
it. I'm happy.
Yes.
Congratulations. Do it.
And I think the role of I mean, even when we talk about the African Americans and the whites, we forget the role of genocide and colonization. Forcefully causing genocide and grabbing land, and then you can talk about
Theft.
justice.
They called it theft, and they called it theft.
Exactly. So, I mean, something like that, we should also, create a theoretical argument for
Yeah.
reparations, I believe. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
Lakshmaya.
Lakshmaya ji, are you there?
I'm there, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chalamgar. I think he had so many experiences, opinions. He had, I think, very a good observation. I think he didn't say now, but very good observation about liberalization. after liberalization, he made a comment, very good comment. This is made for only the whoever they earned from public sector. They invest after the liberalization in the private sector. I think this is a very good observation. I like that he made so many comments and so many books he wrote. This is not the time to. I think we have to celebrate Chellam thoughts also. Sometime we can do that. No, sir. We have to celebrate, sir. Whatever you did, we cannot ignore.
Sir, you were the first person to speak against LPG in this country.
Yes.
You were the first person.
Yes,
Sir.
That is thing. Like that, so many things, sir. Spoken about social movements. Mallabil Raja Memorial Lecture. You get a good lecture.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it was a
a
very innovative thoughts you gave that days.
I may
Sir,
not. I may mention here. I am writing in Telugu. Maybe that will be translated to Tamil. Most of the books are translated Tamil. They are talking about Sanatana Dharma. We have parallel systems of thinking, thought. Our thought is Anadi Dharma. Ours is Anadi Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. These are two things I am writing.
Sir, welcome, sir. You have to be right and right. That is the only thing you have to do.
Yes, that's
Sir, I thanks to Amit. I think
yes, Amit, yes, I'm very happy. He's doing wonderfully
your
well.
thoughts and your work
Yes.
in future. It will be
Yes. He should continue
good,
our tradition. He should.
good strength.
He has to inherit all of us.
Community
Doing my
movement.
best. Doing my best.
I thanks to Arun Kote.
Blessings.
He welcomed this meeting. I thanks to again Rajshekar Undru. I want to.
Yes, he's always there.
I want to share one thing. The 75 lectures idea is of Rajshekar Undru only. That's why we have to thanks to him, and I think it's a very difficult to 75 lectures, but we are doing, but where we do, I don't know, but we have to do. We will do, sir. It's not a big issue. I think next lecture, I think Professor Haragopal on civil rights movement and Indian Constitution.
Okay, very good.
Then Bawar Megavamshi will be moderate.
Okay.
And somebody, our organization friends will welcome that way. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you.
Amit,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Dinesh Chandraji from